What's going on, guys? It's Swim here, and in today's Warframe video, we are going to have a look at last year's free Tenacon weapon, the Gotva Prime. In this video, we are going to have a look at everything that this weapon has to offer, and then I will be testing this weapon out in both the Simulacrum and Steel Path. If you did enjoy this video, then please help me out by liking the video, sharing it around with your friends, and subscribe, as I post a wide variety of videos every week. With that being said, let's get straight into it. The Gotva Prime is an Orokin-era assault rifle that can do some amazing damage. Looking at the stats of this weapon, the Gotva Prime is a fully automatic assault rifle with a max magazine capacity of 84 bullets and has a 2-second reload speed. The Gotva Prime also has a base critical chance of 23%, while the critical multiplier is at 2.5 times. The status chance is a decent 27% as well, and the weapon's primary damage is puncture, which with the new status rework temporarily reduces the target's damage output up to 80%. This weapon also has a unique trait where after inflicting a status effect, the next shot has a 15% chance to have a critical chance of 300%. So you won't see red crits that often, but when they do show up, they will definitely help you deal extra critical damage. To show off the Gotva Prime, I have two builds for you today. Each build is different from the other. First up, we have the classic Hunter Munitions plus Viral setup that will shred all enemies. Starting off, we have Rime rounds for the 60% cold and 60% status chance. We also have Galvanized Chamber for that plus 80% multi-shot and on-kill plus 30% multi-shot for 20 seconds. We then have Malignant Force for plus 60% Toxin and plus 60% status chance. We are also using Galvanized Aptitude for that 80% status chance and on-kill plus 40% direct damage per status type affecting the target. Next up, we are using Critical Delay for that 200% critical chance and a negative 20% fire rate. We also have Hunter Munitions that gives a plus 30% chance to apply slash on critical hits. Vital Sense for that additional 120 critical damage. And the last mod we are using in this build is Rifle Elementalist for 90% status damage and 0.6 punch through. We are also using R5 Primary Deadhead. This arcane procs on precision headshot kills, giving us an extra 120% damage. That stacks up to 3 times. We also get some headshot multiplier and less weapon recoil. If you really wanted to, you could swap out Primary Deadhead for Primary Merciless for the extra 30% damage per kill, but I find aiming at head level is essential and it deals even more damage. Over on the left hand side, we have a 69% critical chance and a 5.5 times crit multiplier with an 81% status chance. We are also dealing mainly puncture and viral damage. Viral does 1.5 times damage to the Orokin faction. Pairing that with Hunter Munitions, we will be dealing some serious DPS. The last build I have for you is a cold and corrosive combo. This build can strip the enemy's armor and slow them down, dealing a ton of damage in the process. Starting off, we have Malignant Force for that plus 60% Toxin and plus 60% status chance. We also have Galvanized Chamber for that plus 80% multi-shot and on-kill plus 30% multi-shot for 20 seconds. Moving on, we are also using Prime Shred for that plus 55% fire rate and 2.2 punch through. We are also using Galvanized Aptitude for that 80% status chance and on-kill plus 40% direct damage per status type affecting the target. Next up, we are using Critical Delay for that 200% critical chance and a negative 20% fire rate. Vital Sense for that additional 120 critical damage. Rime rounds for the 60% cold and 60% status chance. The last mod we are using is High Voltage for that plus 60% electricity and plus 60% status chance. We are also using R5 Primary Deadhead once again because we do want to be aiming at head level to maximize our damage. On the left hand side, we have a 69% critical chance and a 5.5 times crit multiplier with a 97.2% status chance. We are also dealing mainly puncture damage once again, this time with corrosive and cold. Corrosive does times 1.5 damage to the grittier faction and temporarily removes up to 80% of the target's armor value. Cold causes enemies to have a slower movement speed and can freeze enemies in place for 3 seconds upon reaching 3 stacks. This setup fires faster than the other build, so you do need to reload more often. However, you can still do an insane amount of damage nonetheless. Now let's move on to the Simulacrum to test these weapon builds out. We are now in the Simulacrum, and I'm going to be testing these builds on level 160 Steel Path modified corrupted heavy gunners. I will be testing both builds with and without Warframe abilities to show you the minimum and maximum damage output, but for now let's focus on the viral and hunter munitions build. This build is great and can be utilized for most factions. However, the downside to this build is that there is no innate slash procs since the weapon only deals puncture damage. Hunter munitions still does a great job at proccing slash, but it could have been better with some base slash. The Gotva Prime is a generic assault rifle, so aim down the sights and unload those bullets into the enemies. As you can see, when I start shooting at these heavy gunners, the Gotva Prime's unique trait procs. The red crits are nice to see and they give a nice burst of critical damage when they proc, but remember, as soon as you inflict the status effect, there is a 15% chance to get a red crit. So you are not guaranteed to get the red crit straight away, but you will get them if you keep firing. Primary Deadhead works well with this weapon when aiming for the head, but if you don't want to run Deadhead, then Primary Merciless works as well. Another thing to note is that we are using galvanized mods, so it will take some time to reach the maximum amount of damage that this build offers. Once the galvanized mods are built up, you can deal an incredible amount of damage while either aiming or hip firing. The downside to the Gotva Prime is the ammo pool. The Gotva has 84 rounds in the magazine. However, if you wanted to take this weapon through Steel Path efficiently, I would suggest that you use an ammo mutation mod or an ammo restore so that you keep on top of your ammo issues. Here is some footage of this build in action with a few Warframes that synergize well with this build. Now let's move on to the final build. We're going to be versing the same level 160 Steel Path modified corrupted heavy gunners. Same deal as before, I will use this build with and without Warframe abilities to show you the minimum and maximum damage output. This time we are focusing on the cold and corrosive build. This build does perform really well, however corrosive is better when used against the Grineer. Same thing again with the previous build, just aim down sights and start shooting. The unique trait will proc randomly, so get the most out of that free 300% crit chance. We are also using galvanized mods once again, so it will take some time to reach the maximum amount of damage this weapon can dish out. The cold procs are very useful to freeze enemies in place, helping the chance to hit headshots. And the synergy between cold and corrosive is dangerous. I mean, look how fast we kill these enemies. Here is some more footage of this build in action with a few Warframes that synergize well with this cold and corrosive build. Now that the testing is out of the way, let's head on over to the Steel Path to see how this weapon performs. We are now in the Void on Mott, Steel Path of course, and let's see what this weapon is capable of. Overall, I think the Gotva Prime can be a very deadly weapon in the right hands. The unique trait isn't the most effective trait in the game, but it can perform well when needed. The 15% chance you have to get the 300% bonus critical chance needs to be increased, since even though it does proc quite often, it doesn't have that lasting effect that the Gotva Prime needs. There is also a couple of downsides to this weapon, such as the lack of innate slash damage and the ammo efficiency, but you will get that with most bullet-based weapons. The 84 rounds in the magazine and the 2-second reload aren't really a problem when tackling early game and basic Steel Path content. If we were talking Rivens, then I would suggest to try to roll for either damage, multi-shot, critical damage, or slash damage. But enough talking from me, let's see how this weapon performs against an Acolyte. This time it is Torment. Alrighty guys, so that is the end of the video. I hope you all have enjoyed. Please let me know down below what you think of the Gotva Prime overall. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video, sharing it around, and also subscribe to the channel as I do post a wide variety of content every week. If there is anything I can improve on, then please let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been Swim, guys. Later.